You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle. Hey guys, Jim Chester here. I have Chris Zaino there. He is in Park City, Utah. I'm in Grand Junction, Colorado, the Western Slope, which I like to say no one lives. And I think Park City is kind of sparse too, right?
Yeah, there's not many people here, so I like that.
Yeah, and this episode is brought to us by our good friends at Clothes for Chiro. If you guys want to make the most of your new patient experience, bringing in people and closing them for cash and converting them to new patients, reach out to Dan, Sean, and Jennifer with the Clothes for Chiro group. And without any further, many of you might know who Dr. Chris Zaino is, but for those that don't know who you are, just give them the elevator pitch of who Chris Zaino is.
Okay, and it might sound like I'm bragging, but it is what it is. Won Mr. America in 1991. I then was diagnosed with an incurable terminal disease. I beat the shit out of that. And then because of that experience, chiropractic is the thing that saved me. So then I became a chiropractor. In 2005, with my wife, we opened Abundant Life Chiropractic, became the largest clinic in the history of the profession. One of them, seen over 2,800 people per week, all cash, during the recession of 2008. So I built a practice that was recession-proof. It was insurance-proof. It just didn't matter. And really left a legacy on that part. Later on, going back, because I was bored with a huge practice, decided, let me try Mr. Universe. Won the Mr. Universe, got my pro card. And now in the next phase, because I realized when it came to chiropractors and when it came to patients, the thing is we might have been adjusting them, but we never really focused on the trauma, removing subluxation. And a lot of you guys focus on the toxins with food and all the other stuff you do. But the thing is, we really neglected the thought. People's operating systems suck because that's the way they were indoctrinated. So they'll get adjusted, but they leave and they quit because we never fixed their operating system. So I started the I Am Hero project, where basically the I Am Hero project is very simple. I resurrect heroes for the complacency of their secret identity. And if you're watching your Chiro, you got secret identities. I'm here to help resurrect you out of that. So really the hero is the innate intelligence that we were given. Innate intelligence just doesn't make your heart run and doesn't just make your digestive system, heal. Innate intelligence is the thing that gives you the genius idea. Innate intelligence is the thing that gives you the inspired thought. So as chiropractors, we only focus on one very small section of innate intelligence, but the innate genius we're given is the hero. And my job is for people to fully embrace and express that at their full potential.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. And, I think that after watching you and the impact that you've had on the small community that I'm a part of, which is this Chiro Clique. I mean, it's a large group of people, but it's a very small group of people that are the influencers. So seeing what you're doing with the I Am Hero project and really getting to the marrow of that individual so you can make them the best version of themselves, I think is it's integrity, and it's teaching integrity to people. And it's teaching people how to get those pillars of health going for themselves, so that they can take care of their communities better.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this other thing that you do, and the other group that you run is called Chiro Thought Leaders. Let's talk a little bit about the Chiro Thought Leaders and what that does for somebody's productivity and find themselves as well.
Yeah, well, the Chiro Thought Leaders, the way it started was I realized that, when I was growing in chiropractic and we grew 2,000 visits in 19 months, it was a lot of times, it was amazing. It was awesome. And, a lot of things come with that. So a lot of experiences that most people wouldn't see pleasant come with that, but that's how you learn, through the experience. And a lot of times in Chiro at that time, everybody, if you want to become a better speaker, you would learn from a Chiro speaker, so it's like Chiros just stayed in their niche. I was like, you know what, this kind of sucks. So we were all staying in our niche. So I said, you know what, I'm going to find thought leaders outside the profession. So I want to seek the best speaker, the best financial people and mindset. I want to seek the best, even for me physically, the best people in the state of health and body hacking and all this other stuff. So I went outside the profession to find the experts. And then I realized thought leadership was such an important part of my life and still is today. So we created Chiro Thought Leaders. It's just not me. It's a culmination of other amazing leaders inside and outside the profession. And Jim, when I wrote the programs, Chiro Thought Leaders used to be a program here or there. So like it was like my dynamic dinner, because that was the dinners what grew the practice the most, or my masterpiece report of findings. And so Tabor Smith and I made, one-off programs, and they did well. I mean, six-figure launches. I mean, they were crushing it. And then it got to the point I made so many programs. I'm like, instead of these individual programs for $2,000, $3,000, I put them all. I was kind of inspired by Grant Cardone. Like he had one spot with all his programs in it. So I wound up making 23 programs. We put them all in one location. It's everything you'll ever need as long as you're chiropractor. I tell them, like, as long as you're chiro, this is the only thing you're going to need as far as processes, systems, staff training, doctor training, turnkey, you name it. And I put them in one program, 23 videos, 23 courses, over 400 videos, along with a private Facebook group live where you get one-on-one coaching from me, 24-hour access. And one thing you guys got to learn and understand. So whether it's on this podcast, whether you email me, whether you pay me $50,000 for private coaching like some people do, $10,000 to go to a Zaino experience like some docs do, or $300, $400 a month to be part of Chiro Thought Leaders, understand this. When you ask me a question or when you ask my advice, if you texted me with a question, I only have one mode when it comes to giving you advice. It's always 100%. So I'm giving you never think that, oh, this person's a lower tier person. Like I'm always going to give you the best I got, no matter what. I'll always give you the best. What's always going to be the best for you, no matter what level you're in, because I only have one way. I only have one. I'm binary. I either don't say nothing. I'm going to give you everything I got. So whatever course you pick. So a lot of times people are like, well, how about the course, the membership? It's like, on Facebook, you're still going to get coaching from me like someone who pays me $50,000. So it's all there for you. And everybody knows you write a comment, I answer that comment. It's always me, and I'm on it. So yeah, that's Chiro Thought Leaders program. It's awesome. Nothing comes close to it, and nothing will, because just no one's going to spend the time to make 400 videos. And that's my vehicle influence. I got a studio downstairs. So
yeah, that's
awesome.
that's inspiring to me because of your consistency, and something something I heard you say there was that, you've developed a program of experts to help people so they don't have to go shopping everywhere else. It's like developing a mall for people to get their information under one roof.
Yep. And then the areas that I became great at, that people help me, instead of me teaching you how to do it, I'm just going to have the person who helped me, right? Because it's bringing other superheroes who are geniuses in their area of expertise, and let them tell you, and then I'll just stick to my lane.
So this gets me to the next question with you, and why is developing your own brand so important to the chiropractic world? Why is it so important to the individual practice?
A brand is another name for reputation. That's what it is. And I believe today people want to know you. They want to know your story. In fact, your story is so important. Roberto Monaco, I just spoke with him last week. We were out in San Diego, and he was going over a study on how important branding in your story is. So they actually they did an experiment on eBay, and they put I don't know the exact cases, but I'll give you the example. It was like chopsticks, and they said these chopsticks may have been used by Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon, and the freaking chopsticks sold for $56. And so it was probably a $55.80 markup, return on investment. Then there was a plastic banana that they said this was one of the bananas that one of the orangutans used in Cannonball Run with Burt Reynolds, right? And the plastic banana went for $76. So the experiment was, you could take a piece of shit basically, but if the story and the brand is right, that's what people love. Context. People love the story. And in today's society, because there's so much distraction, it used to be you don't want to be the superhero of your clinic, right? But it is personality driven. So people have to know you so they could trust you. And ultimately, as a chiropractor, this is why people buy, because they look at you or they look at your team and they say, I want them to lead my health. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times, having a good script or a good day one is not going to cut it. They got to know that if they cut you open, they're going to see exactly what's there. And you know what? I even leverage my bad reviews. I have a crap load of bad reviews, and I'll tell you why, because I stick to my core values. My requirements are I only accept patients who are willing to help others and have a heart for others. So when someone doesn't want to write names down so we can invite them for dinner, I give them a full refund, and they get pissed and they go on Yelp and they do a bad review, and they say I'm about the money. No way, I gave you a refund because you're willing to help people. So I stick to my values. I only work with people who have the heart for others because I wouldn't be here. If you're under care, we're taking care of you. Your kids have to be under care. Why? Because I take care of my kids. You kidding? So I'm only congruent, and then you got to be committed. Like I'm not gonna, you got to be committed. If you're not committed, then you can't have any expectation if you're not going to do it, because I know what you need or the patient needs. Because if they knew what they needed, they wouldn't be in our office in the first place. Because I'm so sticking to my values and what I believe in being congruent, it polarizes. So people could complain and they could board complain me and all this shit, or people could sit there and say, at least I agree to disagree, but they respect that I stand for what I believe, and that's how I can help patients the most effective way.
Yeah, and to follow into the next question I had for you, and by the way, guys, I like to go over all my questions with my guests before we actually launch, and Dr. Chris was like, nope, let's just let it rip. So I didn't realize you were going to go down that road. So this is my next follow-up question. That is, how do you develop your following, and how do you mature that following as you become bigger?
So do we want to do this in the context of Chiro, or in the context of CTL, or the context of practice?
Let's talk about you and Chiro. I think that's a real easy lane for us to be in.
Yeah, content was king on that. Content was king. I was consistent like you are, Jim, with podcast. I put content out every single day. I do Facebook Lives every single day. When I do a Facebook Live, what it is, Jim, also let's talk about this. I think really what helps build your tribe is you understanding. These are one of my pillars of the I Am Hero project. It's understanding your vehicle of influence. I have a message. We all have a message. So what's the vehicle you deliver that message? Now, I don't want you to compare yourself to other people. Now, when I mention these things, if you're watching or listening to it right now, as I mentioned the different vehicles, one's going to feel better than the other, right? So a vehicle could be video, right? Just like we're doing now. A vehicle could be speaking your message out. Some of you speak great one-to-one, like knee-to-knee, or one-to-many. Another vehicle could be writing articles, right? Maybe you're amazing. If you journal daily, chances are you're an amazing writer. So you feel really comfortable spitting out paragraphs, and you could post it as blogs or long-form content. Another vehicle is audio, like Jim does, podcasting, or it could be, you can put that on iTunes, so it's more of a audio version. Some people, they don't like the video and they're a little insecure, but they could speak and they could pour their heart out. And there's a combination of different vehicles. So the thing is, find your vehicle. Some of your vehicles are art. So I know there's some chiros out there. You're amazing artists. You could take an iPhone and you take a picture of a rock, and it looks amazing because you have an artistic quality. So maybe it's art, posting pictures with nice, some type of poetic language to, talk about health or innate intelligence. So you have to find your vehicle. So my vehicle is video and speaking. So then there's my vehicle, and I stick to it. So for me, if it was speaking and video, I would do Facebook Lives. I did it. I remember to build the Hero Tribe, I did 185 days in a row of Facebook Lives, even on Sundays, because it allowed me to speak the downloads I was getting, become truly transparent, share my heart, and I got the feedback from the market and the people, and I developed an entire curriculum from the feedback of the market. So it's just getting yourself out there, being there for them, being transparent. So whatever that is. So it could be video, it could be speaking, it could be writing, it could be art, it could even be music. Find your vehicle and then practice your vehicle on a daily basis.
You said some really good stuff there, and I'm just going to unpack the box a little bit more with you. And one of the things I would really like to drive home is people being consistent with, their activity, being social on social. So being consistent with your message, being social on social, and delivering people that authentic, human who you actually are, who you actually want to be presented as. And that's your brand. I think that so many times people want to have people do the work for them. And like you're like Gary Vee, bro. You like anybody that says a message to you, you respond back to them yourself. Anybody that says anything to me, they share my stuff. I always say, thank you for sharing. If somebody says something positive, I'm always commenting back. And that was something I picked up from you a long time ago. And then I started watching Gary Vee more, and I realized that's something he was doing too. So following the guys that are like actually in the front of the pack, I don't know what that distinguishing factor is in people. But sometimes you just get on that path and you're like, I'm going to put out more content than anybody else. I'm going to put out more quality content, and I'm going to be active with my audience, and I'm going to grow my following bigger, faster, and I'm going to be the leader for this momentum and this voice and the things I believe in. And, the other thing about you that I really liked when I gave you your worksheet that I give everybody that does an interview with me, you're like, let's just have fun, number one. And your technique that you practice, I remove subluxation.
Yeah.
And I think if more chiropractors realize that that's a technique that they practice, there'd be a lot less confusion in the marketplace.
Well, what really happens, Jim, I think that's a great point. This is what happens in chiropractic. So you come out of school, and with all the boards and the constipation of education in your head, you get really complex, right? So in the beginning of all our practices, we became really complex. Like you still were with the pinwheels and smell all the orthopedic shit, right? So you get really complex, and then the complexity, after a while of practicing, you start seeing the miracles. You get on the far side of complexity, which is you really become super simple but super relevant. And so it's like, what do? I remove subluxations. Dr. Z, how come I have a headache? I don't know, but I'll remove the interference in your body. Like you become so free because you realize, you know what, I'm just guessing on half these people. Like, Dr. Z, why does my knee hurt? And I try to, well, maybe your foot's rotated. No one knows why you got a headache. Who the hell knows why you have a headache? No one knows, but your body does, and your body's doing the right thing. So I realized, like, when you were able to step into the freedom because you just knew the principles so well, and you were sick of just BSing people because you felt, well, I got to give them an answer. They asked me, but the greatest answer in chiropractic is like, I don't know. And I tell them, I don't know. If I told you, I'd be guessing. Well, what do you think it is? I don't know. But I'm going to adjust you, and then your body knows exactly what it needs to do. So, I mean, you get to the point in practice where it's like you're taking a deep breath and you don't feel all this pressure on your shoulders to try to become the savior, because you're not the savior. You could be the hero, but you sure as hell ain't the savior. So just go in and have fun. And it's okay to say, I don't know, and be yourself. And one thing you said before, when it comes to social, to present yourself the way you want to be presented, I know what you meant, but I want to be really clear for people watching. I want you just to present yourself exactly how you are. Like, I see Tabor Smith's on here, right? So I think you're still on Tabor. So
good dude.
I always tell Tabor, right? People tell Tabor, I'm like, do you know Tabor? They're like, no, I met him once or twice. I'm like, he's exactly the same dude. I'm like Tabor doesn't change. He's consistent, right? You're the same way. I'm the same way. So it's like, just be you. And yes, when I go on stage, I'm a little bit exaggerated, right? So my stage is a little bit persona that's slightly exaggerated, but it's still an enhanced version of just me. Because if you try to just put out something that you want people to see you as, it becomes acting and it gets exhausting. And Jim, you cannot stay consistent when you try to act because it gets exhausting. But you can stay really consistent when all you have to really be controlled of is showing up as yourself. And you could do that 365 days, 24/7.
Well, I knew that immediately once we started adding more value into this profession after we made our first film and I started selling chiropractic, like it was like my life depended on it. And then I started this podcast and started this trend of sharing the voice of people. And I knew that everybody had something beautiful inside of them that they wanted to share. Just people weren't asking them to tell their story. And then I started realizing that within chiropractic, there's that one big idea of tell the story, tell the story, tell the story. So I was like, well, what if I just get like everybody in the profession to come onto my show and I tell their story and I add more value to the profession? Now, Chris, in the next 2 months, I can't like forecast numbers like you can't either, but we'll be at 10,000 listens an episode.
Absolutely.
So when you have growth and you see the potential in this movement and this momentum, then you start to realize how you can start scaling things like the way you did. So, bringing on different people to help with the message, getting yourself on bigger stages, delivering more content, getting people to help you underneath to push that content. I think that's one of the biggest vehicles for people is to not be afraid of asking people to support them.
Yeah. And always ask for support and then realize like your phone, you could do everything you need. So if I want to do a podcast, right, Jim, you could go to Anchor and do a podcast. You could go to, Facebook and do a live. You could do you don't need to even be high tech. And I really think it's not about being fancy. It's all about, people just want to hear about you. It's called social media. People want to hear you. They don't want to see a counterfeit version of you, right? Because that becomes very exhausting. They just want to see you, all the good stuff, everything about it, share everything. It doesn't have to always be your best foot forward, and then it's okay to be polarizing. And I do answer all comments, like you said, and even the negative ones. I appreciate the negative ones because I realize they don't really understand who I am. So as long as you go in grounded saying like, I know who I am as a human being, and, everybody is entitled to their opinion. Otherwise it would be a really boring place to live.
Yeah, of course. So you said something about being, social platforms. Which ones
Right.
do you hammer? And if we could give some actionables to the people out there watching, where would you tell people to start building their audience and their following on?
Facebook I'm actually transitioning more into Instagram, but I hammer on both, Facebook and Instagram. But this is the deal. Like I do my 2 lives. So I'll put one phone and I'll do my Facebook Live and I'll put the other phone next to it. I have a stand and I'll do my Instagram Live at the same time, right? So I'm doing both lives at the same time. And I notice who's on which one. And I'm having way more people on Instagram. And this is the reason why I'm switching more to Instagram. My freaking 80-year-old mom is on Instagram. So I'm like, my mom's on Instagram. So I'm like, okay, that's the sign. So because of Facebook and all the weirdness that's going on, I'm still, crushing Facebook, but then also Instagram as well. Snapchat, not so much. YouTube, when the hero stuff starts going, I have someone that I'll use for YouTube, more on YouTube ads, but definitely Instagram and Facebook. Anything where you have people. And like a doc came to me and he was kind of in a rut. He's like, man, I'm just in a rut. I don't know what to do. And he didn't know what to do. I'm like, well, I'll tell you what. I found his vehicle. He likes speaking. I'm like, so listen, even though you might not be monetizing or making the income you want to, at least when you do a Facebook Live for 10 minutes, you're in the environment of your true self. Like when I do a video, and when I'm with you right now, Jim, there's no other place I would rather be. I'm sweating. I'm excited. I have a lot of energy. Time's flying by. It's like it's my oxygen. I told someone the other day, it's like I'm coming up for air. And those feelings I expressed is because that's what happens when you're doing your thing. Mm-hmm. Now, this doc, I'm like, listen, even though the money's not coming in the way you want yet, and he was in such a funk, I'm like, I got to get you feeling better. So just doing a Facebook Live or just journaling or just doing a podcast, even if it was 10 minutes a day, at least that's 10 minutes of the day that you're free. You feel amazing. You feel ecstatic. You're sharing yourself. And so even if you had 10 minutes where you could actually be the true version of yourself and be transparent and give and contribute, that compounds over time, and it helped get him out of his funk, and his life started improving, relationship, practice, everything. So that's why I say do it on a daily basis, because what I love about a daily basis, there's going to come a time, Jim, 2-3 weeks into it, and you're going to be like, oh crap, I don't have any more material. And then you're going to get nervous. That's your secret identity telling you need to stop. So you're going to feel, what are people going to think? How am I going to better yesterday? And then you still do it. And even though you think you sucked, someone comments, that's exactly what I needed to hear today. And you'll realize that all these insecurities start burning off of you, because you'll realize, wow, that was just my insecurity. And you'll start saying to yourself, I'm filled with unlimited content. My innate genius gives me unlimited content for my entire life. And so it's a wonderful process to go through, because even on good days and bad days, you show up. That's why I love you, man. Like, you're consistent. You show up. And when you show up, there's always someone that it was almost like a divine appointment. You say something that person at the other end absolutely needed to hear, and their whole entire life shifted. That's again, that's oxygen to me.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that I'll tell you, and I'll tell everybody out there watching, is by doing this, it has opened up so many doors for me to shake hands with the most influential people in this profession. And now what are they doing, Chris? They're asking me to go speak at their events. They're asking me to come there and interview all of the guests at their event and the people that are involved in speaking. They're asking me to become more integrated because of the consistency. So if you want to do this in your local market, then you become so damn consistent in your local market that you start interviewing people that are business owners around you, and you start integrating the chiropractic method into those businesses that surround you within 7 miles. You interview them, and now you become that cultural authority in your bubble and your local market. And now you can transfer that information of chiropractic to all these thought leaders in your community. So it's like a microcosm of what we're doing on this like global scale. So if chiropractors wanted to utilize these ideas and they wanted to start a podcast, I'd recommend them to, build that network of people around their community to where they become the influencer with the chiropractic ideas. And, I just think that that's the way to go, because then what's going to happen is they're going to have an opportunity for a speaking engagement, and they're going to say, oh, that chiropractor that runs that podcast in Houston is awesome. We're going to ask them to come here and to share for 30 minutes about chiropractic.
And Jim, you said something that you're doing, and I know your heart, and I want to make it very clear. We tend to do this as human beings. Okay, I'm going to do this podcast, but where am I going to get the money? I'm going to do this, and where am I going to get mine? But you have to go in, like Jim said, you're going to do it. You do it because you're walking in your truth. You're doing it because it feels good. Like, I love it, right? So you do something that you love. You do it because you love it. You get to express yourself. You get great feedback, and you do it. And then it's the act of doing it. Jim, right now, the act of doing his podcast is his reward. So the fact that he does it because he loves it and he's consistent, then the unknowns, like Jim said, the unknowns start to open up. And these unknowns that are opening up for Jim and everybody that's associated with Jim, that's when it turns into a monetization model. So it's very different than I give you a service and you pay me money, right? Like in the office. No, I'm going to give content and shit. I've been doing this, right, Jim? You've been doing it 400 episodes, and it's very easy to say, okay, when am I going to start getting mine? But he does it because he knows it's just a matter of time where the unknowns start to open up. And then you'll see Jim will be on stage someday telling the story. I did, it was my 600 episode, and someone had heard it and they brought me in, and it's going to be some amazing, cool, and it's going to sound really lucky, but it's not lucky. It was putting in the consistency, and then you're one piece of content away, you're one podcast away, you're one video away, you're one live away from this unknown happening that opens up an amazing door to an amazing future. So, Jim, I love that you don't go in to monetize. You go in because you love it. The act of doing it is the love. That's the reward. And then the unknowns open, and life takes you on a magic carpet ride.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I what I've realized, Chris, is there's other people out there that need to hear this. And that's why, when you contacted my assistant, Myra, and you guys were in talk, you're like, wow, it's going to be 2 months before I can get on to have this conversation. And, that's just it, is we have a waiting list opportunity to do interviews now. And, there's days where I take off now. I have admin days on Wednesdays. If I'm stretched to the gills and I need to get somebody on, I'll open up a slot on a Friday. But we're going to be a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday show. And we're going to go twice a day. And we already have a waiting list for that throughout the rest of the year whenever I'm available. So when you do build the platform, it's just like where I'm from, Iowa, Field of Dreams. You build it, they will come. And that's just the truth of it, is if you build a platform that has value to it, the people will be attracted to that. It's like an engine. Like, you just attract people to you when you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's contagious.
So next thing, let's go back to chiropractic, because I know that you're DC. Let's talk about growing a massive practice and stepping away from it.
That's fun. All right. So growing a massive practice and stepping away from it. Wow. So imagine you grow this amazing, sick, awesome, cash-driven, miracle-forming, ridiculous, amazing practice. It's funny. I'll get back to it, but I think Chris Burkfeld had written, do any of you chiropractors have a waiting list? And people are like, yeah, I got a waiting list. I'm like, what bullshit? At $2,800 a week, I never had a waiting list. You know why? Because my job was saving lives. So I'd stay after work. It was never in my mind. I'm like, I'm getting you in as quick as possible. All I need to do is get you to a report of findings, tell you the truth, and then we go on. So, you start going through it and you start checking off the boxes. So, checked off the boxes, great, amazing practice, amazing wife, 2 healthy, awesome, healthy kids, powerful kids, financial freedom, everything you want, it's there. And then I just started feeling a little, I don't know if it was burnout or numb or disengaged, a little depressed. I thought I peaked, because like a boxer, what happens, I peaked, and then when you're not seeing 2,800 anymore and you're seeing 2,000, even though it's awesome, it's like you're like a boxer. You feel like, oh, I peaked. Am I going down? And so, because I was putting my identity in a number, maybe, right? So all these things I found out later. And I realized that the whole time I wasn't depressed, I wasn't numb, I wasn't disengaged. I was really grieving my potential. And it was an end to something in my life. And there's never really an end. It was really an evolution to something in my life that I was called to take the principle into a higher state of just not innate in the physical, but innate into the mental, and really get this message to the world. Because I realized I did what I did because I wanted to always be a hero. I wanted to be admired and idealized for courage, contribution, outrageous achievement, and nobility. And so I realized in practice, I had the achievement and I had the contribution to people in the practice, but I realized, I really didn't have the courage. I didn't have the courage to allow myself to truly evolve and become all I was truly created to be. And I went through that process, and man, it feels heavy. Remember, if I was in practice, it was just feeling heavy. And we would come out to Park City every August, and this last August, my wife's like, I'm not going back. I'm like, okay. So 1,500 miles away, how do you run a practice? So we got some great guys in there. Robert just came out of school not too long ago. He's probably out a year now. And 2 great doctors in there. And see, I built predictable systems. The only way I was able to have a practice like that is I had predictable automated systems that could be reproduced at any time and anywhere. I used video automation, whether it be a video DR, a video dinner when I was in there. So man, there was no variables. So with no variables, you could walk away, and you could walk away and still run it and still crush it and have a great time. So someone's like, well, 1,200 a week, that's not 2,800 a week. Yeah, I know. But I also know exactly what I have to do if I walk back in there. I know exactly what I have to do to take it up to 2,800 a week. And the only reason why I wouldn't get there is because I would choose not to. But I know the system. I know exactly the routine and it's actually the routine and what I have to become to hit it. See, it's more than you got process and procedures, but then it's also becoming someone that you need to become in order to attract that, like you said, Jim. So it's been different. It's been a transition, but the hero message to me and everything life has brought to me has been amazing. And I'm actually more at peace and more relaxed than ever. I'm the guy who meditates now every morning, and I really it's not an end, it's an evolution. And I really feel it's like the caterpillar turned into the butterfly. Like caterpillars don't go around a cocoon and mourn. They're not mourning. They're like, wow, this dude's gonna have wings. And I really feel like I'm in the process of growing these wings and experiencing life and impact in a different perspective.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest things that I've listened to in a long time, because, the way I see it is chiropractors all the time, they struggle with identity. They've reached the peak of their potential once they get that diploma and walk the stage, and then all of a sudden they get self-doubt. Whereas they should be propelled to know that I am somebody that is the only doctor in my family, and I'm going out there to be a chiropractor, to locate, to adjust, and to fix people with subluxation. That's like the launch pad where people should get more abundance and more, more fire in them. But yet they go on to this like struggle, like this plateau of struggle. And then we hear stories like one of the things I want to ask everybody out there is, if you see 1,200 a week and that's like your down slope, raise your hand for me.
That's my worst year ever.
Raise your hand out there or show us a comment if you guys are seeing less than 1,200 and you want to get there. And I think that if they did come into your program, you could help them achieve that massive status of growth and that potential. And, it's not like we have lack of talent in this profession. We just have lack of certainty with the talent. And that's why we have, this fall off after 5 years of practice, this fall off after 7 years of practice. But it's okay, like you're saying, it's okay to reinvent yourself. It's okay to be the doctor and to have other interests. I think that's so much in this profession is we see people becoming doctors and we're like, you can't have other interests. Like Billy D, he talks to people about nutrition and people slam him all the time for talking to people about smoothies. Like, it's okay to have other interests. And the thing that people don't know about Billy D is he was a nutritionist before he became a chiropractor. So why do we have to stay so one laned? when it comes to teaching people about natural health. And I know that's one of the things that you're really interested in doing. And you might have gotten frozen on me.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Close for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle.
All right, guys, this is the pattern interrupt of the century. We just had a meltdown. The internet got too hot, and we lost Dr. Chris Zaino out there in Park City, Utah. Once again, I'm Jim Chester, your host of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm coming to you live from Grand Junction, the Grand Valley, the western slope of Colorado, which I like to say no one lives. I do, though. And this episode over here, over my shoulder, that shoulder, is Moveville University. That's Dr. Todd Pickman. That guy is doing amazing things for the chiropractic profession, teaching people how to not only take care of the subluxation, but take care of the whole body. So if you guys are interested in Moveville University and learning how to build dynamic function with your patient base or your, whatever you like to call them, your practice members, whatever floats your boat, you can call them what you like. Just check it, fix it, let them heal. Gonstead style. So, Chris, this is our part 2. Internet's back on. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's great, man. Just get you fired up. I might have ripped some wires out of the floor. I don't know. No, it's always good stuff, and I appreciate you getting on. And we're jobbing good together, and I think that's really great information. Right. So let's rock and roll.
So we're back to the brand identity. Yeah. And that was one of the things that we left off on. We were talking about the platforms to hit hard on. One of those platforms were Facebook and Instagram. And then I was telling people how that they can become an influencer by becoming the podcaster in their local market. And that's when things froze. So let's light that up. And what is the potential for people if they start becoming that go-to positioning in their local market?
Well, it's the person who has the loudest, consistent content out there. When you build a tribe, sometimes it's so weird. Like we think we could do a report of findings and that person gets the message of chiropractic. No, with all the distraction today, that person has to hear it all the time. Like Joe Borio, what I love about him, he always used to say, he's like, never, ever think that they get it. That's the thing. Like, and that's his like kind of anchor he goes into. It's because we're chiros and we get it. And the thing is, we're watching podcasts with other chiros and we get it. But like, you don't understand, when that patient leaves your office, they're inundated, distracted by so many other things of confusing, conflicting, their brains over here, over there, they're pulled this way, that way, that, like it may take 3, 4, 5 months of someone hearing you on a consistent basis, listening to you, reading your stuff to say, I'm ready for it. Because remember, you ever notice that, I know for me that when I'm at a point in my life and I hear a speaker or I read something and it really touches me, it touches me because I was ready for it. You follow what I'm saying? Like when I got there, I was able to receive it. But when I'm here, I didn't receive it. Like some things I'm into today and I follow today, like 7 years ago, I was arrogant, like pretty much arrogantly against it. But now I realize today I'm more receptive. I'm like, wow, I'm just ready for it, right? So I think it's the same thing. That's why quality content over time, that person will rise up, boom. When you make that connection, that's the time they're in. So they might hear something. The great thing about podcasts, or like you say, social media, it echoes forever. Like this podcast we're on right now, my super great heroic grandson will be able to watch it.
Of course.
It's there forever. It's not a one-time deal. Just think like it will echo. So a lot of times you're thinking, well, I said this before. That's fine. Your message will echo for years to come. And so how about this? This is a crazy thing. This podcast right now will be seen, who knows, 2 years from now by someone, and it's going to be so relevant. It's going to be so like exactly what they needed at that time. So when you create content, it's not just for the day. Just think your content might be for someone 2 years from now that it's going to hit them exactly when they needed it. So I see every dimension when you produce content. I see such a big why. I stack my whys knowing that you know what? The person viewing now, the person who's going to replay it later and 3 years from now, or read it 3 years from now, it's gonna be fresh and it's gonna be exciting and it will potentially change their life.
It's called it's called evergreen.
Yeah.
Because we create this evergreen product, which is our passion. You can't ever take the passion away from what we have right now. And we might be peaking right now, but we can always get to the next level. You know, when you became that person of seeing maybe 200, then you're like, well, what's the next barrier? How am I going to get to 500? And you're like, all right, we're jamming. How are we going to get to the 1,000? You know, it's those tiers that we follow where we always know that we can handle a little bit more. And I think that that's the part where people get lagged down on, is they don't realize how much time they actually have in a day if they put a regiment around it, and how effective they can actually be at producing content that's outside of their busy hours. You know, Gonstead would adjust people 18 hours a day. Mm-hmm. We have people trying to see 300 patients a week in freaking 16 hours.
Yeah, I mean, and you can do that if you want. But the thing is, like, yeah, when you look at Gonstead, like that's one thing. Like when you look up to someone, you got to look at the whole picture. So when you want to practice like Gonstead, and you want an airplane, and you want a hotel where people fly in to see you, we love the sexiness and the romanticness of that. But then on the flip side of the coin, it's like, well, dude, is your wife going to drive you around in the middle of the night to adjust people? Are you going to, like, you know, just take mini micro naps and wake up and adjust? Like, he was so consumed in the being he was, and he was so all in, it attracts the fact that we're talking about him today, right? So, yeah, you know, what you don't see is like, and that's one thing I want to tell you, like, what you don't see behind the scenes is just as important as what you see in the public. And I really think that's tremendously important. Like, you know, the times I put into work. So if I know I'm going to work 6-7 hours a day, I try to equally invest that amount of time in the same day on myself. So investing in yourself could be reading the green books, doing your meditation, working out, taking a nap, being with your family. So whatever, if I'm going to pour out 7 hours, I'm going to refill and work on myself. So I try to always make it 50-50. And it's work, right? Because it's like, well, when I'm not at work, I got to be preparing my body, my mind, eating right, you know, having that time with the family. So I see that all as preparation. So now I could go to work, pour myself out, and then I recoup. So I always try to keep an equal 50-50 exchange of time, 50 pouring out, whatever those hours are, and I'm spending that exact time as much as I can, as close to as I can, for me.
So I'm going to pull a page out of Tristan Schaub's book, and I'm going to ask a question he likes to ask to the people he interviews. And I think he's dynamic as well. Tristan is he's breaking down the walls of what it means to run a chiropractic seminar. He's bringing in outside influencers that are going to make a profound impact on the future of this profession by building those relationships with them. Relationship branding, relationship marketing will get the chiropractic message out to many more people. But if you were in the elevator with two recent grads that are about to finish in like a month, what would you tell them on that elevator ride so that they could take something away from you?
Go out and apprentice. That's it. Find someone who's running a practice really close to what you want to do. Go over there, say, I'll work for you for free. I'll sleep on the floor, do what I need to do. Because, you know, and then I would just watch and learn through experience, period. And I just kind of stare at him for the rest of the way.
That's a good one. So here's another Tristan question he likes to ask people.
I'll be speaking at Chiro Sushi as well. I'm speaking on Thursday at 4 p.m.
Nice. I'm there. So question for you. Are you a BJ guy or a DD guy?
BJ.
And why?
Because he basically, with the hero concept I'm talking about is what BJ was at. Like the last 10 years, he really started evolving into, he called himself we. Like he knew it was the difference between him and his higher self. Like BJ realized that a human being, we are extensions of a bigger, older, wiser self or source, right? So there was BJ, the human, and there was a older, wiser, eternal being, which you would call innate or we. So he literally went back and edited his books to put we instead of I, right? So BJ really started getting metaphysical near the end. he was such an amazing thinker. It was insane. And he hung out with the Teslas. He hung out with he hung out with all those dudes back then. I think BJ's time was a renaissance. That was probably like the last renaissance, because around BJ's time, there were so many amazing thinkers: Henry Ford, Edison, Tesla, Marconi, all those guys, like just crazy, amazing people. And BJ was such an amazing thinker. And just think, like, I'm a horrible speller, right? Well, when I type, there's all this. So like, he wrote all these books. Amazing. He traveled the world. Like, he had such a strong mind. He had such an amazing, so when I read his green books, or when I do read books, and when in green books, I try to do what Jim Carrey did. So Jim Carrey, he got to the point when he acted, he became the character and never, he actually put Jim Carrey to the side, like the whole identity of who Jim was, and became Andy Kaufman, right? For instance, on Man on the Moon. And he stayed in character for 6 or 7 months straight. And he said he had to literally relearn who he was. So he had to literally like, who is Jim Carrey again? What's his political stance, or what's he like? So he's like, he realized that if he was able to set his identity, all of who he was, his whole life aside, and become somebody else, then he realized that we're a lot more than just our identity. And BJ, that was BJ. He was, so when I read his books, I try to get into the mind of BJ and see life through his perspective. And he was definitely a genius. He was on another level, even on another metaphysical / spiritual level. Simon Sensen's books are really good. When you read his books on the spiritual side and stuff like that, it was really cool. I enjoyed it, and it really shows you that chiropractic. That's what I love about it. Like, that's why it's so nauseating to see chiropractic as like a modality or a neck and back thing. Like, chiropractic literally came from like an epiphany that was literally, I can't even put words into it. It's monumental. It's life-changing. It's a way of seeing and living life. It's not just, I adjust a spine. It's like everything is from an inside-out perspective. It literally changes the way we view life. And so I really, that's why BJ was great. And DD was there too, man. He was a magnetic healer. So they were tapping into some metaphysical stuff back then, for sure.
Yeah, I love the way Tristan interviews people, because he gives them these like hot topics towards the end of it, and he kind of closes out with them. So I'm going to ask you another question based on his style. What are the top 3 sacred places in chiropractic that everybody should pay like a sojourn to? Where should everybody go?
Oh, I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm not into that stuff. I'm not into like a Mecca. I mean, I did live in Sarasota, Florida, and BJ's house was there. But I mean, it's funny. Like, you don't need to do that to be a great chiropractor. Like, I remember I was part of this group, and they climbed a mile up a mountain. I remember climbing it up and be like, I didn't need to climb this freaking mountain to see 2,000 a week. It's just like, you realize, like, there's just, let's just strip it out. Like, what do I need to do? So, I mean, I don't know, man. I can't answer that one.
Well, I'll jump in with you, because I've been to all these places recently. Yeah. I think that everybody should tour the Palmer Mansion in Davenport, Iowa, where BJ lived as personal residence. Absolutely amazing. I think everybody should tour the Gonstead Clinic. It's a legacy monument in the chiropractic profession. And, I think that you should go out there and find somebody that's in the trenches, that's seeing a lot of people and taking care of families. I think you should find somebody that's your own personal hero. Like they said, John McHugh says Chris's office. Yeah. I think that those are sacred grounds. Those are workshops. I just had a chance to go see James Choate. He creates all these amazing custom tables for the profession. And going to his clinic was like a baptism. Not his clinic, but his workshop was like a baptism. I saw what somebody did with their heart and soul, and how much effect that they've had on this profession, because he had one vision. He had one vision, was to create the best chiropractic tables based on the practitioner.
And one thing, Jim, on to piggyback on that, it's kind of my belief that, the place doesn't make the miracles. It's like it's us. So the thing is, like, it's not where am I going to go? It's where I'm at with who I'm at. So like right now, you and I on this right now, this is sacred ground to me. And I don't care where we're at. Like,
course.
you and I could be at Starbucks, dude, with some great leaders, and Starbucks is sacred ground. It's like who we are. Like, we carry the hero. Like, I always used to think, so good. I'm so glad you said this. I believed that chiropractic made me successful. I believed that I was successful because I was a chiropractor. I was successful because I was a doctor. Then I realized I was successful because I'm just a damn successful person. Like I brought the hero to the practice. So versus having chiropractic be being codependent, being like, if I'm not Dr. Zaino, I lost my identity. So I found my identity in the profession. I found my identity as being the doctor. And that identity meant that, it kept you constricted versus like, listen, I like you and I, we bring it to wherever we're at. So I brought the hero to the office. I bring the hero to home. Like, wherever I'm at, like when I'm adjusting someone, I'm not just Dr. Zaino. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a thought leader, I'm a hero. So it's like, I don't switch. I realize there's no switching hats. All these things we were taught in life. Got to switch hats, got to have balance. All that shit we were really taught to live a mediocre life. I was like, we could be everything at all times. It's like, it's who we are. We bring our full self to show up. And when our full self shows up to the marriage, to being a parent, to the office, or to any stage, or to Starbucks, like that becomes the sacred ground. We make the sacred ground. The building is just a building. Like my office, I used to say I had a dysfunctional relationship with my office because I never took vacations. And I always felt this, I used to say this office it's like a dysfunctional relationship. It's draining me. It's like, it's never satisfied. And I realized like the office, the building, no. That building was just a part of me that was doing that to myself. Like I chose not to do the vacation. I chose to pour everything I in, work 18 hours. So here I was pointing the finger at this building, and this building was what I created. I created that situation, realizing that I am the one who creates and prepaves that ground. So that's why all of us on this line, if we were to meet in a parking lot, that's sacred ground. It's just like, so I believe it's the people. Like when people go to church, it's like, there's nothing special about four walls on a Sunday morning. Like God just doesn't reside in four walls on a Sunday morning. Like BJ said, it's like, he's there the rest of the week, like it's like, so he resides in us. We are that. And wherever we bring us, that's the sacred ground.
Yeah. I actually think that hits a lot of people where they're supposed to be met, because I think that so many people are looking for something that's going to supply them with the answers. The answers inside of all of us. The answers inside of all of us. And when you realize that what you want to devote your time and energy and attention to, that's who your identity becomes. I could have turned my time and attention and identity and become the best travel writer I wanted to be. And I'd be at the top of that game because I'd hit it harder than anybody else. I could be the best, sports journalist out there for my beat. And I could cover like the Grand Junction Rockies, and I could be the best sports writer out there. But I picked chiropractic. So I've poured my heart, my soul, my intention, my momentum, my energy, and my love to build my own sacred ground, which is the truth I believe in. And I think it's the thing that everybody deserves to know more about. And I think chiropractic needs to be demystified. It needs to be a stronger brand equity in the marketplace, because people are all looking for it. They just don't know that it's called chiropractic, man.
Oh, no, 100%. Well, the word itself, when someone says, that's why when people ask me, what do you do? And this is a really good one. This is some tactical stuff for you guys. When people say, what do you do? And you say, I'm a chiropractor, and people would say, oh, cool. And then, so when they said, oh, you know what they were saying? That was like, 1,000 people have a different perspective of what chiropractic is. So what's O? Like, do they think I'm a person who just works on a neck or a back? Or am I a person who have dream catchers? Do I am a person who throws you over a garbage can? It's like, what am I? So then I developed something called the Chiro pickup line, where you would ask me, what do you do? And I go, I'm a chiropractor. And then I would automatically say, what do I do? And then they would throw them off. Well, you work with like the lower backs and stuff like that. So they would then tell me their perspective, because I don't want to guess what they're thinking. They would tell me their delusional, uneducated, whatever they were told by the public or their hairdresser what chiropractic was. They would put that out on a silver platter for me, and I would see their perspective, and I say, I'm so glad I asked you that question. I'm like, because people are sick, dying on drugs more than ever before, because their doctor never told them what true health was. And I go and I tell people what true health is. And most people think health is what? And I go right into it, how they look, how they feel. And I say cancer, heart disease, you don't feel that. Health is how you function. And I'm right there. So asking that question, when someone says, well, what do you do? And you say, I'm a chiropractor. And they're going to say, oh, and they're going to point to their neck or their ass. You say, I'm a chiropractor. And they go and be like, what do I do? And when they have to explain what you do, number one, you realize they don't know what you do. And you realize no one knows what chiropractic is. Like, you know who knows what chiropractic is? The 7 people on the freaking line right now that we're doing this live. It's like, we know, but they don't know. So what I loved what you said, and I really appreciate it. You said we need to demystify, right? Because, chiropractic does have a metaphysical point. I mean, there's some amazing fourth dimensional stuff going on there. But you're right. You need to be able to get the message out. So when I do my dinners, I don't show up. In my dinners, I don't show up and say, hey, I'm Dr. Zaino. I'm a local chiropractor. I'm going to tell you about the spine. It's like, because if I said I'm Dr. Zaino, I'm a freaking chiropractor, everybody in my dinner goes into their what they think chiropractic is, and they're going to say this. I don't have a back pain. I don't have a neck pain. Oh, I went to this guy or this gal and they suck, and they'll turn me off. So I just talk, like BJ says, I sell the principle. I speak the principle, and everybody nods and say, this is freaking awesome. This makes sense. And then at the end, I fully develop and educate them on what the principle is. And then now they have a new idea what it is. Now I could reattach what chiropractic and subluxation really is. So I sell the principle, get them on board, and then say, and you know what? That's what chiropractic was. And no one knew that, right? So no one knew it because of the 80s and the insurance times. But in the 30s and the 20s, when 3,000 people a day, I got that big picture, 3,000 people a day got adjusted at the Palmer Clinic a day. They knew what chiropractic was. The Sears, remember the Sears brothers? 16,000 people per week. They knew what chiropractic was. Gonstead's Clinic, they knew what chiropractic was. So back in the day, so something happened. It was when we tried to become medicalized, insurance started taking us. And even today, chiros are stricken and like in handcuffs of insurance because they want the money and they're afraid of letting go. And, there's all this stuff. So I believe, Jim, until there's some type of catastrophe, which is a good thing, like in Infinity Wars, so to speak, I love that movie, something has to happen where we have to raise our A game again because the truth will always do. The true principle of chiropractic survives so many trials and punches in the face that it's always going to survive. But sometimes we need a little bit of a shake up. Maybe insurance just doesn't take it anymore, whatever it is, but we need something to shake it up for really the purity of the message to come through again.
Yeah, you said some really cool things there, and I wanted to touch on one of the things you mentioned about, giving the talk and not beating people up with the idea of chiropractic starting off with. But what you've told them and you didn't continue to tell them is what you do is you close the room after that. You tell people the truth of who you are, where you came from. You tell them your personal story. You brand yourself to them. You give them a good meal. So you feed them from like a nurturing level. You tell them a good story, and then you tell them the chiropractic story, and then you close the room. And if we look at how to scale that, we could do that, and we could close the whole city. We could close the whole state. If you follow those same darn principles and you follow those same type of ethical stances, is you build a relationship, you tell them who you are, then you start building the framework of the relationship, and then you eventually get everybody under care. They start referring everybody in, and you get to as many visits as you want.
Hey, Jim, let me tell you something, and you would understand how to do this. I did an experiment with Jared Yellen from Cinduit, and he called me up. He's like, Chris, what if you do this talk and then all the doctors under Cinduit, the chiropractors, will send out this link. You do your dinner talk. They'll send it to lay people. And let's just see on that massive scale of doing that. And I believe there was over 12,000 views of that video. And I think close to 2,000 new patient appointments from one video. So what they did is they did a webinar like this. I did my dinner talk. I did my chiro talk. And all the chiropractors, part of the Cinduit thing, they sent out the link that was unique to them, and it was amazing how we were able to do it on scale. Now, the next thing we're going to do is I said, listen, I would really love to do the talk and then close them, and they could hit the button, and they pay for the appointment, and that appointment goes to that doctor's link, almost like a referral, so they could just go in there. So it is possible. It works. It was definitely.
We'll call We'll call that closing the living room.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, you know what? It was like, people saw it on their phone. They weren't at dinner. It was just, I always believed that video, and maybe it's because my dad was in video. In 1975, I've been around video my entire life, but I always believed that video, it would still work. If the person could share their heart and they could really, you could feel that connection there. I believe, because today, like you go to seminars, you go to churches, like, everybody's looking at the screen. And so I know in today's society it could work. So using video, or like we go back to the social media, using your platforms, I think it's I think it's the best thing going.
Well, that's why, Chris, that's why TV became so popular.
Yeah.
Because people like to watch video. They like to watch other people doing stuff. They like to watch attractive people. They like to watch people doing, interesting, engaging stuff. I told people 10 years ago, Chris, that people are going to start falling off of cable television and they're going to start watching stuff like this. I said that people are going to start their own media companies. People are going to start branding their own messages, and they're going to start their own media channels. And then when the TV starts to collapse, there's going to be people out there that are going to start health channel networks that are going to be like, that guy's done over 1,000 interviews. We want him to be the main anchor talking about chiropractic. Well, that's where I think the media is going.
Oh, it's there. It's people are flattering. Like, no one's gonna, like, the ads for social media are so underpriced. It's super, super inexpensive to get a lot of traction. And I personally haven't had TV for 15 years.
I haven't had one in 7.
Yeah, we have Netflix, right? You know why we have Netflix? Because my kids, we could choose what our kids watch. I don't want my kids. I'm very big into protecting your heart and mind. When I grew the most, I grew in 2007. I started doing the dinners, and between 2007 into 2009, we grew over 2,000 visits. And because I didn't have TV and I read the newspaper, I had no freaking clue that 2008 happened. So I went cash, and so here we grew the most. And like years later, so like I heard someone talking on stage, like they're like, "Can you remember 2008?" I'm like, yeah. I go, that was like my freaking best year ever. That's like when we had this massive recession. So it's like, wow, like, because I didn't believe the lie of some recession or stuff that people paid cash for their health more than anything else. And it just shows you that chiropractic and the principle, it's recession proof. My programs went around the world, so it doesn't matter the culture. Like the principle is Dr. Dan Sullivan, we always say that the principle is best served naked. What I mean is, like, no shiny objects. Like, it's the principle is served beautifully naked, meaning that how naked and basic and raw can you get the principle? And that's what you serve. No extra spices, no fancy this or that, a spine, maybe a nerve chart, and just really we don't. And then what I mean naked too is, like, don't show off your neuroanatomy big terms, right? No one gives a shit about your big terms. Like, just speak in parables, speak in a way everybody can understand. And the principle is so beautiful naked. It's natural. It's perfect. It makes sense. And that's what people are really attracted to. And I got that principle where there was this guy, he would speak in Africa, and he would speak in fields of people. Like 3 million people would show up. They would walk for days to see him. His name was Reinhard Bunke. And he was coming to the States. I'm like, I'm going to see this guy. This guy's got to be the most powerful speaker, because millions of people come to see him speak. And I sat there, I had my pencil, I had my pad. I'm like, I'm gonna collect some bombs right here. Like, this is my next level. And you know what I got from it? It was such a simple freaking message. I threw the pencil down. I'm like, he went the total opposite that I thought he would go. I thought it was gonna be some eloquent, polished. He was just, here I am. Here's the simple truth. And people move. It was like it was the total opposite of what I would think. And I'm like, and this is why 3 million people show up. He had it so beautiful, so simple, so loving, so understandable, so empathetic, so hopeful, so inspiring. And he would close the room. He would close fields.
Well, I have a couple more things I want to touch on with you. Yeah. The first thing is your first segment that we did about a half hour ago, maybe 40 minutes ago, you said something that I want to touch on. You said something that sometimes you get negative reviews. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do for reputation management?
Nothing. You know why? I'll tell you why. Dr. DeMartini He said a quote that I stand by. I don't invest in desperation. I only invest in inspiration. And wherever I put my energy and my focus grows. And I understand that stuff's on the internet. It's there forever. And I'm not going to fight it. Like, some reputation management is really expensive, $3,000-4,000 a month. And I'm just like, I'm not going to be, it feels like a shakedown. It feels like I'm spending this money. So when I do my talks, like, if you're sitting in front of me, if you're watching this right now, and if you feel like if you don't feel that I'm 100% on someone else and you don't like really relate to me, then that's your opinion. But like, most of you are going to say, like, like I said, don't tell me the questions because I want to be truthful. I want to be honest. I want to be transparent. It's like, I'm a good dude. And like, so if a person hears me speak, if they're so myopic where they let a review determine what they do, that's not, my life is fine. My health is fine. Like, unfortunately, that person who wrote the bad review, if there is such a thing as karma, they're going to feel the heat of hell someday. It's like, I'm not the one that turned that person off. Like, everybody who had a bad review against me and then turned people off, I'm okay going, you know what, someday, like, they may have to answer for that. But I know that I'm doing the right thing because I stand by my values. So I never invested into reputation management. We do have good Google reviews and stuff like that. People do it. But my whole thing was, I'll never invest in desperation. I only invest in inspiration. That's the same reason why I'm not asking you to do this. This is the same reason why I don't call patients back who missed their appointments. Because I had, remember now on high volume, I experienced the same things you guys are going through times 20. All right. So I had a beautiful girl, just a beautiful heart. And she would call everybody who missed their appointment. And sometimes when you're at 2,000 plus a week, you might have 200 people that didn't make all their appointments, right? It fluctuates. So she'd be on the phone calling 200 people. And they would tell her what? They would give her some excuse. All these people who their health wasn't their concern, they give her an excuse. They say it's too far, or I got to spend so much money, or I'm sore. Like, she would hear all this negative shit over and over again, and it poisoned her. And I saw Kim, her name was Kim, and she's like, I don't want to work for you guys anymore. I just don't know if you're helping people. Because she was so focused in this test group of people who just weren't committed to their health, and that poisoned her. So I realized, okay, guys, huddle, no more calling people. It's in the policies. We're not babysitting you. We're your coach. We'll help you, but you got to be responsible for your health. So we eliminated calling people if they missed their appointment, and we took those hours, 3, 4, 5 hours, and we put them towards productivity, towards calling people to invite them to dinner, towards Jim Chester coming in and saying, hey, Jay, or it's hey, Jim, they call him by the first, hey, Jay. I would say, Jay, hey, man, good to see you. How you been? Like, loving the people in the present versus spending all this time, like, trying
to tie up the negative.
Yeah. So I focus only on where you put your energy grows. And let me tell you, a lot of people get hung up on that. They get, you see, someone wrote a Yelp review. Oh, I got a board complaint. My board complaints, I got 3 of them. One, and when the board posted, it's like gross negligence, like shitty words, like gross negligence. You know what gross negligence was? This is my gross negligence. When I had hardcover x-rays, a patient went to see my friend, Dr. Mick. So I gave them their x-rays. Gross negligence, failure to hold records. I gave someone their x-rays. Another gross negligence, there was a site that had Dr. Zaino, but it didn't have Dr. Zaino DC. Boom, that's considered gross negligence. And what was another one? Oh, and another one, I admit to this one, because I was traveling back and forth to Utah. It was a paperwork issue. I didn't fill out my license.
But when you're rocking, Chris, when you're rocking, people look at you as a target. They look at the guy on top of the mountain. They want to take him down.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is like, so if you're watching this right now, you guys are going to have bad reviews. The fact that if your practice has no bad reviews, or you're not pushing it, it's okay. Don't worry. If it happens, it's their opinion. They're entitled to have their opinion. Don't freak out. Don't spend all this money in reputation management. Like, say, listen, I love that. Never invest in desperate. Tim McFadden said that. Never invest in desperation. Only invest in inspiration. Every dollar has to go towards building.
It's brilliant. And
I
you
mean,
can't focus on the negative. You have to like look to the positive because you're not out there to please everybody. You're out there to do what you have, what your innate potential. And that's what you work off of.
and what happens, Jim, right? On how you focus. If you focus on the people who give you bad reviews, you're going to start to not like human beings. You're going to put everybody in there. You're going to feel that you're being attacked by everybody, even though you're not. It's just your perception shift. So when you're a chiro and you're about to do that adjustment, you can't think everybody sucks and everybody's out to get you. It will destroy you. That's Jim. That's the 5-year dump. Because all it takes is one board review or one board thing or one negative comment, and then people get jaded because listen, I get it. Chiropractors, more than anybody I know, you cannot separate work and your regular life. You care so much, your entire life and heart. Like I tell my wife, every dollar we earn, like when I say I feel every dollar in my body. Like I didn't make that dollar because my Bitcoin went up. I made that dollar because I bent over and my sacrum is like literally falling apart. So it's like I felt, and we work hard and we stay up late and we do a report and our brain feels like it's run out, and we come home and we're exhausted sometimes and we see miracles. And then even though we see a miracle, that person like quits. And it's like, I don't get it. Like your cancer went away, your AIDS went away. Your life has changed. And what do you like? And then we get so much of this, we get hurt and your heart starts to callous. So there comes a time where I told my wife that I felt I needed a heart transplant. Literally, like my heart got so callous because listen, you're taking the hits and you pour everything you got into people and they quit or they leave or something. And then your heart starts to callous to protect you. And you're like these calluses aren't coming off. And when I went into the I Am Hero project, and I realized that, and that's when I realized that's when I had my heart transplant. Like I realized I was able to go back and find love and peace for people again, because it's very easy to start going into an area where you start to see everything through a negative lens. So that's why when you said, don't read the reviews, don't do that, because the world will suffer when you're off your game. And a negative review will definitely, you can't be in the lion's den for too long without getting eaten. I mean, some will last longer than others. And for me to tell you, hey, Jim, don't worry about it. No, not a chiropractor. We care too much about people to not care. That's such a bullshit line. Care so much that you don't care. No, I care for people and I will always care. And every person who quits, it hurts me. 100%. Every person who gets well, I celebrate with. I remember all my patients' names because we care. So that's one thing. That's why I think working on your personal life, meditating, always being grounded, reading your green books, listening to your audios, that's the only thing that's going to keep your heart supple, for sure. And even though I tried my best, Jim, those calluses got on me for sure.
Yeah, Chris, and it's great to see you share who you are.
Yeah.
Because so many people see you as a Facebook Live on your own platform, or they see you as an inspirational meme, or they see you as somebody from the stage. And not many people know that the person that's up there doing those things has taken all the blows to get to where they go. And I think that that's a huge spotlight of, being that there's like key words in our vernacular right now. And one of them is authenticity. One of those is transparency. And I think when you have this real life persona, people start to want to help you more because they're like, wow, he's just like me. There's that old feel, felt, found. I understand how you feel. I'd have felt the same way. But what I found is if you think about it this way, we can make a better decision together. And like you said earlier, my mentor, Matt Walker, he's the person that started me into the chiropractic profession. And he said, Jim, you got to stop using the word I. You got to start using the word we. So he was like innately teaching me to be more like BJ than more like Jim. Right. And he was like, people love you already. Start supporting them with you and include them in the conversation with you instead of saying what you're doing all the time and what you're accomplishing all the time. Talk about what we can accomplish together. And then we get stronger as a unit. And then people support the we more than the I.
Oh, 100%, man. Always.
So brilliant stuff. I'm just going to throw a shout out there to the people that are on there with us. We have Darren Weiss, who is over in Barcelona, Spain. He's an Ironman. Dude is legit. Played Palmer rugby. Tim McFadden in Yakima, Washington, with the Chiro Dex app. Jump on that if you guys aren't on it. Kat Sarah, she says, haters make you famous. Hashtag the principle is everything. And Tim McFadden says, sell the principle. And Mitchell Crema, this kid is a really good story. So he's coming out of school. He graduates in June. He's a Palmer rugby kid. He's going to go take over my friend Zach Lujan's office in a small community called Manchester, Iowa. But Mitchell Crema is somebody that, what you were saying earlier, when I asked you that question, what would you say to somebody in the elevator if you had a small chance with them? That question was for him specifically. John McHugh. He says Chris's office when I asked where the sacred ground was and where he should go. And Thomas Waller, he's over in the UK. I believe he's in Bristol or Wales. And he says, love you both. Thank you for doing your part to change the world. And Kat loves the comment that we had earlier for about Tristan Schaub and what he's doing as I call him an industry transformer. And that's a hard, position to stand in, because even with what he's doing, he is starting to get those people that are trying to like unravel him and push his buttons. And, I'm just going to segue this.
Yeah.
Chiro Sushi Summit is the place to be. What other events will you endorse right now, saying that that's where you'll be speaking and people have to go there in order to get redipped, if you will?
I think Chiro Fest is amazing. So I'll be at Chiro Fest.
I will too.
I'll be at Chiro Sushi. Cal Jam's always fun, my man. It's always good. But I like what Tristan said. Like, you got to change it up. You got to make it fun. And I really think I'm interested. I don't know how he gets those top line speakers. You got, the impact theory guy, Brian Tracy. We got some JP Spears.
Coop Blackson.
Yeah, like these dudes get 20, 30 grand to speak on stage. And I'm sure Tristan knows them, whatever it is. And you know what's cool about Tristan, what I love about this? I spoke at a chiropractic conference once, and you had chiropractors on stage, which were actually delivering the truth and delivering, tactical things that the chiro could do to become better. And then they would bring in like bigger names, not chiros, but maybe in the wellness field, and they would pay them, right? And I remember one time, they would pay them, and then the owner of the stage called all of us, the chiros, and said, listen, even though you guys didn't get paid, can you give us a couple thousand or $1,000 to help pay for so-and-so? And I'm like, I'm not paying for so-and-so. So-and-so, no one gives a shit about so-and-so. Chiropractors want to hear from chiropractors. So what I love about Tristan is he's very, he is very gracious. What he has allowed the speakers to be able to contribute and have. He was very giving. And then he's definitely not hitting us up. He's really investing to bring some really cool, relevant people. Tom Bilyeu is the impact theory guy. He's in it. He's in it. Brian Tracy, he's the OG right there. That's the original gangster. And I really think that's so fun because, number one, it does bring people in. It's in Vegas, which is beautiful. And I totally give heads up. Same with in the Paul Reed and Chiro Fest. It's a really great thing. So I think Cal Jam, Chiro Fest, Chiro Sushi, they're the bigger ones that I think they're fun to do. I always tell people I think you need to hit some Chiro seminars, and I definitely think you owe it to yourself to go beyond the Chiro seminars and go to some other seminars to see how big the world really is.
Well, that was my next segue for you, Chris. How do we get you on the 10 Next GrowthCon stage at Grant Cardone's deal?
I'll earn my way there. I'll earn it. I know, a buddy of mine sent an email to Lewis Howes, right? And Lewis Howes, hey, Lewis, you need to meet Chris and this and that. And then Lewis Howes, he wrote a very nice email back of, no, I can't get on the phone, but it done great. Very classy, very classy. And I'm sitting there reading it going, I didn't pay my dues yet in this world, right? So I'll pay my dues. And I'm like, cool, Lewis, I get it, man. I totally understand. I respect it. You don't know who I am. But I go, I'll be on Grant's, I'll be on the stages because I'll earn my way there. So like you said, Jim, we're going to consistent content. I'm one piece of content away from something, gaining momentum. And so that's why, guys, I'm never looking for the home run. Just put out consistent content every single day. Share your truth. Don't get frustrated. Don't be like, how come I'm not getting more likes and views? I don't even care the likes and views. I share my content over and over again. And then like Jim said, as you share your content, opportunities, unknowns open up. People contact you, right? It's like, and the unknowns, that becomes the beautiful magic carpet ride. So when I am on a growth con, or when I am on a Lewis House show, I'll be able to tell you, hey, Jim, this is how it happened. And it never happened the way I ever thought it could happen. It was just like, it was a beautiful arrangement of the universe to bring me where I needed to be at the right time when I was ready. So I'll earn my way there.
And I feel the same way because people approach me all the time. They're like, hey, doc. And I'm like, first thing, I don't correct them. I'm not a doctor, but people all the time reach out to me, hey, doc. And they I get an email a day, at least. And, when you're consistent, it's just back to the things that Gary Vee would say. We day trade attention. We day trade attention. When you think about what we do on a day-to-day basis, we day trade attention. That's our market. And every day, the reason that I post 3 to 5 times a day sometimes is because every day the market it rises and it falls. When somebody stops paying attention to the thing I posted 3 hours ago, I think of the next clever thing. I think I pull something out of my genius and I say, what could I deliver to people to make them engage more and to possibly start a cultural authority for my social positioning? So then I post the next thing. I day trade that information until it starts to fall again. And then I'm like, well, what other platform should I get on? And I ask you, what platform should we be hammering? So then I get intelligence from somebody that's doing it. I get doer grade information. And you're like, well, get on Instagram. My 80-year-old mother's on Instagram. I can see the audience participation on my lives on Instagram compared to my audience participation on my lives on Facebook. Which one is better? Where are the people? That's where the people should go. So you don't learn that unless you are doer grade and you start doing day trading of your content and the information that people get from you. So you have to day trade whatever it is that you believe that your message is, but consistently do it to where then people reach out to you and say, hey, I think you're a good candidate to speak at this next big non-chiropractic event that's going to be an influential thing where you'll be able to meet the next influencers in the profession. That's why I love the students, Chris. That's why I always interview the students, because I'm going to associate myself with the next leaders in this profession. I'm going to build my band of brothers with the future leaders. And the people that are already making the decisions, I've already given them a nice handshake. But the unsung heroes in this profession, I'll tell you right now, is the student and the woman DC. So if we can start banding together with the most intelligent tribes out there, which are the students, the future leaders, and the women DCs, the unsung hero, which there's a 50% split between who's in school right now, between men and women across the board. This is a real exciting time to support the women chiropractor as well. They trade the information.
And yeah, and just, in my verbiage, I was saying that when I say guys, stuff like that, that's just the way I talk. But I mean, because I see, when I speak chiropractic, I really see it genderless. Like, it's removing interference, and anybody could do it. I just really think it's powerful.
Well, I think we might have melted the internet again. Chris is frozen over there. Hopefully he doesn't bail out on me again, but we touched on a lot of really cool stuff. If you guys are still with me and you guys can't hear Chris, just chat in where you guys are coming in from. And I just appreciate everybody's support that what we're doing here with Chiro Hustle. I'm going to throw a shout out there to Mooville University, Todd Pickman. If you guys want to learn more about his programs, go to moovilleuniversity.com. He's helping chiropractors not only do specific technique adjusting, but also rehabbing the body to where the subluxation that is there, the body heals with it. So we can start rehabbing all aspects of the body. I always tell people, just like Chris said, you're just one story away. And keep telling the story and keep hustling. See you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.